No, President Ben.
Do you want the meeting?
French
Can I send it to
I'll send it to you.
I know it's hard. Yeah, you can-
That way.
you? Okay,
We're also sharing the love.
yeah, I think we're good. All right, I think we're recording now, so. All right. Oh, yeah, she sent it to me twice and you weren't. All right, I would like to call this meeting to order. We acknowledge that the Wilfrid Laurier Student Union operates on the traditional territory of the Neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people. Regrets for this meeting include, Director Spiritu, is he here? Can you check the one more?
The mouse is on the side of the
Oh.
keyboard there. So no, I can't check, but you can if you go down to participants down here.
No.
Or
All right, so Director Spiritu and.
Daniel's there.
Yeah, Daniel's here, and then Director Laheka sent her regrets. So Director Laheka sent her regrets, and then Director Spiritu is absent. Right, any conflicts of interest to declare? All right, as I see none, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Ian, the DIC report, it wasn't added to the agenda, is it?
No, unfortunately, it got missed. It's now in the board team under the folder for today's date. So you can either amend the agenda and add it and deal with it today, which would be pretty straightforward because there's no recommended changes, or we can also put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
We can just do an amendment. So I guess I do a motion for an amendment and then we adopt the. All right, can I get a motion that the board of directors make an amendment to the agenda to include the EIC report for EL2B and GP2C? Motion by Director Arik, seconded by Director St. George. All right,
Any discussion on the matter? And this is where you would discuss it, right?
yeah, like we can discuss the whole report then. All right, yeah, so it was Julia, Nicole, and myself. We did the DIC report for EL2B and GP2C. And yeah, we didn't make any recommendations or anything. So those policies will be staying the same. We thought that they still fit like within what we want the policy to be. All right. So I feel like a motion for voting.
You approve the direction inspection committees as
Okay.
as submitted, yeah.
Sorry, you still have to vote to approve the amended agenda, the amendment to the agenda. Then you have
That was my
then you'd
bad.
have to approve the.
I literally
agenda.
just said that to Ben. I'm like, I definitely.
It looks like it's full
All
responsibility.
right, okay, so we'll vote for the amendment. Is there any opposed? Any abstaining? And all those in favor? Daniel? You're voting? No, okay. You lost. 0-0-2-9. Vote passes. Okay, whatever, that vote passes 0-0-9. All right, so now we have the amended agenda. Now we motion, do we have to adopt the actual agenda then?
That's right.
All right, then can I get another motion that the board of directors adopt the newly amended agenda? Motion by Vice Chair Michael, seconded by Director Nakshatra. All right, any discussion? No? All right, we'll move on to voting. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor. Vote passes 0-0-10. You know what? He did vote last time. It just went over here. All right.
If you want to open up participants at the bottom, it'll come up on the side and you'll be able to see if you
You'll have
want.
his hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Can we like pin him?
Sorry, I'm not very techie, so. All right. We can do that. Okay, no.
That was not my idea, I'm sorry.
All right. So since we already talked about the report, we don't have to bring it up again, like it'll be included, or should we bring it up again?
So you would just put a motion to accept the report as presented, and then if there are any questions, you could deal with them then.
Okay, we'll do that after the adoption of the consent agenda. We'll do it before the approval of meeting minutes. Do it then. Just because the adoption agenda is always after the other. All right, so also is the consent agenda, so the is the monitoring reports that I did. So can I get a motion that the board of directors adopt the consent agenda, which includes GP number 1, BMD number 2, BMD number 2A, BMD number 2B, BMD number 2C, BMD number 2D1. Motioned by Director Rousseau, seconded by Director Ejam. All right, any discussion on the matter? No? All right, moving to voting. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor. Vote passes 0-0 to 10. All right, now we can move on to the DIC report that Vice Chair Hafstemichael prepared for us. Yeah, as we said, there was no recommendation, so we just need a motion that the board approves our report. Can I get a motion that the board approve the DIC report for EL2B and GP2C? Motion by Director Bunket, seconded by Director Gatsai-Shaw. Is there any discussion on the matter? If you guys do want to look at it, it's just in the Teams folder. But it just says no recommendation, so there's not really anything there. All right, we can move on to voting. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor. Vote passes 0-0 to 10. All right, now moving on to the approval of the meeting minutes from September 23rd. So those were prepared by our secretary. She's in the meeting right now. Yeah, I think the meeting minutes look great. If you guys, just based off what we had from last year. I think she did a really good job with them.
What page is that?
It's after all that. So yeah, right there. Those.
Which one?
Here, so page is that
40.
You guys have the page
46?
46.
So they're just pretty simple meeting minutes, just to kind of keep track of the motions and things. Yeah. So I just need a motion that the board approve the meeting minutes for September 23rd, 2024. Motion by Director St. George, seconded by Vice Chair Hafstemichael. All right, is there any discussion on the matter? No? All right, so we'll move on to voting. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor. And vote passes 0-0 to 10. Perfect. All right, moving on to comments from myself. Not really much. I just want to thank everyone for coming to Brantford. Sorry, my eye. Thank you all for coming. I know it's a journey, especially for you guys as well. Yeah, I just want to say thank you. And yeah, in the policies, it says that the board, we need to have a meeting on both campuses, 1 per term. So we're just following policy. And I also wanted to say that Adam Lawrence will be at our next meeting, or not the next one, the meeting on November 4th. So if you have any questions for that, you can start preparing. If you had any questions about in mind that you want to ask him. Also, he asked me if you guys would prefer doing like he would do a presentation, or you just want to do like a Q&A. So I know you wanted to talk about Milton. So I can definitely include that as like a point for him to speak on. Last year he talked about like housing in Brantford and stuff, so we could kind of talk to him about if like the school has any like ideas on like how to deal with housing issues or anything like that. So why are you laughing?
I will answer that question after the meeting.
Do you guys have like a preference if he does a presentation or just a Q&A? Like either way you can answer questions, but would you rather just be like a time for us to meet with him, or would you want him to kind of present? Yeah. Presentation. Okay. I had some ideas when I first emailed him. I think it was like housing, Milton, and there's something else, I'll find it, but I'll basically talk to him about the same thing. If you guys have any like ideas you want him to present on, just send me an email, or you can tell me right now. Yeah, and I can put that on his list of things to touch on. Yeah, I think it's good too now because it's open, so they've kind of got that like first couple weeks of process in there, so like. Yeah,
What they're learning so far, like the number of people there and so on. So like how will governance like.
alright. Okay, anyone else have any like ideas off the top of your head right now, or any kind of? It won't be too long, it'll probably be like a 30-minute, 45-minute thing. The November 4th meeting, so if you could all please be there. Thank you. Alright, and yeah, last thing, I'm just meeting with the finance committee tomorrow, so that includes Director Rubinoff, Director St. George, and then Director Spiritu. We will be meeting. That's it for me. Alright, comments from the president and CEO.
Awesome. Not too much is brand new from our last meeting. Bill, Ian and I met with our EDI auditors bettering today, hopefully the final meeting before we launch our student facing survey. That's set to launch later this month, hopefully the week after reading week. That's been an ongoing process we've been working with since the start of my term and well into last year's term as well. On the student affairs side of things, not too many updates, really no movement on the SAAA or the external review. So we're in a holding pattern there, but starting to take some steps to try to move some things along, hopefully in the next few weeks, but we'll see what happens. Phil and I are both heading down to Milton this week to go to a Milton Leadership Council meeting. So that group started up last week. So we're heading their second meeting, excited to kind of see what that group's up to and see how that campus is going so that things got started. Working on UPass negotiations, or pre-negotiations, we'll say, to kind of look at what the renewal of that agreement will look like this year and for the years following. So ongoing work with student affairs and our friends in the GSA on that piece. I'm still working through some stuff with our Greek life organizations and what our memorandum of understanding looks like with them and how that might change for coming years. Not a ton of solid info on what that's gonna look like yet, but ongoing conversations being had with a ton of folks. And then I'm working with student affairs partners on a volunteer appreciation event for orientation volunteers. That's taking place on the 21st, so day of our next board meeting. You folks are more than welcome to attend if you want to, just let me know and I can make sure you folks are on the list. We're sending a bus from Waterloo and Brantford. The event's starting at 7, buses will be leaving around 6. So as a heads up, I'll be joining that meeting virtually. And then currently completing performance reviews for the student executive team, and then the teachers doing that for their APPs as well. And then we held a truth and reconciliation event for our staff team last week, which went over really well. Kind of become an annual thing the team has done. So excited that we can continue on that tradition. Other than that, not a ton for me, but happy to answer questions if folks have them.
Perfect, sounds good. I don't have any questions, that was pretty straightforward. Does anyone?
For the volunteer appreciation week, it's like 6 a.m. or 7 p.m.
7 to 9 p.m.
Okay, where is it?
It's at Bingham's in Canberra.
We can move on to the comments from the executive director and COO.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to what Ben said, because he definitely poached most of what I was gonna say, which is fine, that's his prerogative, I work for the pleasure of the president. Quick update with regards to the Seagram project and the SPV, the booking, meeting with the KPMG auditors to kind of explain what that project's ultimately gonna look like has been booked for October the 28th. I don't fully remember who all is actually on that committee, but the board members have been invited to that meeting, we're hoping that you're able to make it. Hopefully that'll paint a very clear portrait as to what it is that they're looking to do and how it will impact our organization. What we'll have to do after that presentation is kind of as a group and figure out what our recommendation will be to whether or not to move forward with it or to kind of take a pass. But hopefully it'll clarify a lot of questions that we currently have. Also a quick update over the course of reading week starting next week. The Special Constable Service ICT person, James and his team will be reinstalling a bunch of new cameras in the Fred Nichols Campus Center, bringing our building a little bit more up to date with the technology. As some of you have probably seen or not seen, we have boxed in cameras with really old technology. So we're trying to kind of bring it back into the 21st century. So that'll be happening hopefully while most students are away from campus, so it shouldn't interfere with too much. And on that note, just a reminder to all students, whoever happens to be hearing the sound of my voice, that as you go into reading week, please make sure to take security measures of your own personal property. People know that you guys are leaving the city and they will try to invade your personal space. So protect yourselves and your things.
Well, thank you for scaring all of us now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, also, on the way here, Ben said we're getting new furniture in Waterloo Boardroom. So that should also be being built on remake. Hopefully.
Oh,
Emphasis on the hopefully.
I'll believe it when I see it. I was very pleasantly surprised at the Brantford stuff. It's up here and it's mostly set up. It's not completely finished, but very exciting. It seems to be working really, really well. Positive feedback from Dr. Muller over there.
I wanted to kind of discuss like the mic system over there, because we join online, right? Sometimes I can't hear people on that table.
So that's actually part of what we've got. So the camera and microphone and speaker systems here. There's a little microphone system set up right there that does a really great job of isolating it. And it's gonna, the one in Waterloo is gonna mimic this. So the quality of the sound for people online should be infinitely better
Okay.
once it's set up. Proof will be in the pudding, but we'll find out in a couple weeks.
Hopefully on October 21st.
Yeah, you're happy when you would.
So yeah, does anyone have any questions for Philip about anything? All right, we can move on to the elections policy and elections date.
Yes, evening, everyone. And yeah, I can attest the mic quality, at least on this end, has been really good. It's been easy to hear everyone, even with background noise, so encouraging. Anyways, so on page 49 of the agenda package is the elections policy for 2025. So this comes to the board every year for approval. It's pretty straightforward this year. There are no changes from last year. So the policy that you're all familiar with having run, it's the same content, no changes. And then for the election date, again, the cycle is the same. The dates are slightly different, obviously, because of the calendar year, but we've kept the same strategy. So this is year 2 of using that condensed campaigning period, which you've had positive feedback on, as well as having nomination packages due following the first week back after the winter break or the holiday break. So that would have nomination packages due January 12th, the all candidates meeting January 13th. And then last year, we experimented with a pre-election marketing approval period, so we'll replicate that again this year to see how that goes. I would have campaigning from January 20th to 28th and ending early that morning of the 28th, voting days, January 28th, 29th, 30th, with results night and the annual general meeting on January 30th. So happy to take any questions that people have.
The annual meeting, is it like the directors meeting or is it like?
No, it's like the AGM, like the annual general meeting. So we need to meet like a certain forum for like all of our members. Yeah, so that was like what happens at Wills. So they just make it on election night because they know people will show up. So we meet that like quorum that we meet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an obligation under the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. So that was new legislation that every nonprofit organization had to adopt. So last year was the first year that we ran through having that requirement. So it's something that we do because we are required to do, and we try to do it as less intrusively as possible.
And what's the cutoff for number of people that need to be there? I'm not sure. Do you know what the quorum is?
Yeah, it's still 10% for voting. And then we have a different number for the annual meeting, but we wouldn't do the annual meeting until we had finished the voting period. So 10% of the student population.
What's like the amount of people we need for the AGM?
So I think if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, as we've all seen earlier tonight, it's about 50 people. So as people come in and as they're verified as students, they'll get wristbands up to 50, and then we know that those are eligible voters to kind of certify the results.
And then they can't leave. So,
I mean, we certainly close and lock the doors to make sure that nobody can leave, yeah.
I mean, for all the candidates, like last year, we had like 16 candidates, I think.
Yeah.
Just for the board, so.
It's designed to be a really easy number to achieve, because doing anything bigger becomes far more complicated for a wide variety of reasons.
Yeah, and then the quorum for the voting, it's just like for the actual vote, so people voting have to do that. What happens if we don't hit? I think they have to extend the voting days. It's just a hassle.
So we very rarely miss quorum during the regular election cycle, so that's not really something we're overly concerned about. It's if there's by-election stuff that happens, that it becomes like a special kind of torture. I think 3 years ago, it took almost 4 extra weeks to get across the finish line. Yeah, it was bad.
Alright, I just had a question about the referendum questions. When, do you know like what meeting we're gonna have that?
So
discussion on?
they'll come the first meeting in December. We're just waiting on the schedule for the non-tuition fee protocol committee in order to set the date for the call for referendum questions. It will usually go out sometime mid-October to late October. There's a period that it has to be open, but we just need to know when that last non-tuition fee protocol meeting is.
Okay, sounds good. I guess we have to approve the election policy on the election,
Yes.
please. Alright, does anyone have any more questions? Alright, can I get a motion that the board of directors adopt the elections policy and the elections dates? Motion by Director Ijong, seconded by Director Teddy. Alright, any discussion on the matter? Sorry. No discussion, alright, all those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor. Vote passes 0-0 to 10. Alright, move on to the fleet vehicle replacement proposal.
Okay, so this will hopefully be a relatively easy process. So a number of years ago, I don't remember the year, so please don't feel free to fill in that gap if you want to. But I think about 2 years ago, the board voted to put $100,000 aside for the purchase of a new catering van. And since then, our hospitality team has kind of changed leadership. We never ended up buying that catering van. COVID was a big part of that because didn't need to do a whole lot of catering during COVID. So we would like the board's permission to take that $100,000 that we put aside for that catering van and reallocate it for the purchase of 2 new student union vans that will replace the foot van both here in Brantford as well as in Waterloo. It's something that we committed to last year's board to doing. The new vans will be brand new. They'll have full warranties. They have full safety features, backup cameras, etc., which will mitigate some of the challenges that we've seen with the vans over the last couple of years with some of our drivers. The price will be a little bit higher than that $100,000, but I don't think it goes higher. I think it's like to the tune of about $2,500 max, and that'll be covered off through one of my operational budgets in my executive director portfolio. But it should be a straight in and out. And I need your permission to do it.
I was reading that, and then they said there was a bit of an issue, because we're gonna have them insured by the university's insurance, but they said think about them owning it or having us.
Right. So they are technically officially our assets, technically the university's assets through the fleet management, because that holds us accountable to a maintenance schedule to make sure that the winter tires are put on, to make sure that the oil changes are being done regularly. Historically, our organization has not necessarily been great in doing that in on-time fashion. So it's just a matter of how the insurance works with the van program, but those will still be officially our vans.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Sorry, what were the vans gonna be used for?
So it will be used for the Foot Patrol van program, which is so it's a little bit different on both campuses, but essentially for any folks that need to kind of have the Foot Patrol or Hawk Walk program, walk them home, but it's a little bit too far, the van will ultimately take that. But it also allows us to have a carpool policy where we're allowed to use our staff and student executive to go from location to location without having to take personal vehicles and personal liability into account.
This might be a good question, but what's happening with the old vans?
We're exchanging the vans, so we get some money off of the price of the new vans for the return of the old vans.
Yeah, in the agenda, it has like the receipt, yeah, like, so there's like a trade-in value there. Each
Oh,
van
sure,
gets a
the
different
lots.
amount. Yeah, the one gets more than the other one,
There's an air tax.
yeah, I know some of the fees is just like.
Yeah, you guys should, I don't know if they negotiated any other price. but-
What is an air tax?
Full disclosure, I don't know the answer to that question. My best guess is some sort of like carbon balancing out of the carbon usage of a vehicle. But I don't know that to be true.
There's also air tax, what?
Did they try negotiating any of the prices at all? or
Yeah,
was
so
it-
Tony took the lead on this project, Tony Massey, the Director of Strategic Initiatives here on the Brantford campus. And he's negotiated down several $1,000s, and has been pretty hard about it. There were lots of other dealerships that we tried to get quotes from, for example, both Brant Toyota and Waterloo Toyota were basically completely non-responsive. Like we would have conversation, but they wouldn't kind of respond to any kind of back and forth. So their number was their number, so ultimately what's come across is the dealership that's been presented by far had the best deal. They're brand new vans for that price, if you know anything about vans, that's a pretty good price,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Alright, okay, does anyone else have any questions? Ready to vote? Alright, so can I get a motion that the board of directors approve the purchase of the two vans? Motion by Director St. George, seconded by Director Garcia Shaw. Any discussion? No? Alright, so we can move on into voting. All those opposed? All those abstaining? And all those in favor? Vote passes 0-0 to 10.
Thanks, everybody.
Alright, I'm just kidding. Okay, any announcements? Alright, I guess Griffin and Daniel, see you guys tomorrow. For our meeting, and Noah. Well, hopefully he shows up. Yeah, I don't think there's any like action items or anything either. So yeah, I just wanna say thank you everyone for coming out. And, can I get a motion that the board adjourn the September, it's not September. Motion to adjourn the October 7th, 2024 meeting. Motion by Director Bunket, seconded by Director, Nakashacha? No, you're good. Okay, all right, any discussion on the matter? No, all right, all those opposed? All those abstaining, and all those in favor? Vote passes 0-0 to 10.